Hi, Matthew. Jeff Allen here. I just saw your post on LinkedIn about working remotely, and this is a great post. I've actually been saying for the past. I see a lot of posts in the past, less than a year, about small companies, of under 50 people that are working to a 4-day work week, and that it's better and all that. And I say, well, that kind of depends. And in certain fields, like they work in the translation field, and the translation field has always been a distance thing, right? Translators, you always send files to people else. So that kind of job as in project manager translation, they normally do this anyway. So it's nothing surprise, right? Everybody works remotely. In general, translators, in fact, the project manager work in one place, and all the translators are dispersed all over the world. And this COVID was just made it easy for that because it's already there in place. Like it was like delivering, doing, food delivery for Domino's Pizza. They they were already doing it, so it was no big deal from the transition into a COVID lockdown situation, right? So, but I work for a big company, a big software company, one of the biggest, the multinational, actually the biggest multinational software company in Europe, based in Europe. And so I get to work hybrid. It's kind of a flexible thing. I have a very flexible thing. We did the whole flex thing, and now it's gone to come back to the office. So we've gone through this thing, come back to the office 3 days of work. Now the thing that's a difference is that I work. My teams are not in the country I work in, right? The teams I work with. So if I go to the office, which is an hour and a half train ride and subway route and all that, which I did before for 20 years, but didn't all do all that because I was in the pilot teams for hybrid remote anyways. When I go to work, I'm gonna actually make calls abroad anyway. So there's really no difference of where I'm doing the work, right? So it's a little bit different than the teams, our software teams that are actually based in the Paris office and they all work together. So that's a different kind of situation. So, but the things that you said here, well, I'll come down to the thing. I'm kind of rambling because I'm reading through your thing and I'm thinking the answers to I've dealt with them. So my girlfriend, she has a hard time understanding what I do because she's a nurse, right? She's a visiting nurse, which means that she runs around all day in a car, taking blood samples, urine samples, doing bandaging and doing, all kinds of medical things, post-ops medical, right? And injections and all that kind of stuff, vaccines and whatever you want. And so she has no way to do this remotely, right? You have to do it, in person with a needle. And she bills every person every day, with the cards, the Social Security health card they have in France, and all the stuff, and they call the health systems and all this. And she has a little card reader and stuff that handles all this stuff and bills, does the cross billing, the teletransmission, all that stuff, what they call it. But what I do is a completely different job, right? So I have a computer, I have a phone, I've got an iPad. I can work wherever I want because everything I do is based on calling people, doing, teleconference, conf calls, teleconference stuff, watching videos of recordings that have already been done when there's meetings happen. So I'm doing a lot of, and then making reports and writing things about content that I've seen somewhere, and I have to make a report about it or say something about it. So it's a whole different job. So I can do it wherever I want. And I always have my roller suitcase with me, with my computer, and wherever I go. So I can effectively work. But you're right. So this is a hard thing for people that don't work remotely and don't work in it. It's hard for them to understand. And you're right too about the fact that the influencers that say remote work is the future don't work remotely because they're working for themselves, right? It's a whole different thing when you work for a company and a small startup or small business versus a big one, right? It's a whole different thing. Now, the big ones are coming, they want people to come back to the office, and there are tax laws, like you say, where you can, you need to do things. And I work in a country that has some laws in place. And so, and it includes insurance too. It's not just the tax laws; it's also insurance. How the employees are insured, and I have to declare in my home insurance that I'm working from home. I have to do that, right? Or else I'm not covered to work. And I have a lunch voucher card that is impacted by this. I can eat at the company restaurant or I can eat my lunch voucher card. So which can go to any restaurant. So I mean, all these things are kind of being embedded into the entire system how it works. So and yeah, companies are coming. They're coming back. They're going to hybrid or a 2 day or 3 day at home or that kind of stuff. It's jumping around. If you work in teams, but in a team. But if you don't, then you're a whole different thing. I've got colleagues that still have been working, at home for 15 years, 20 years. That's what they do because they live in a different location, and it's in the contract, right? So they signed it, like you said, if it's in your contract. And mine was in my contract for 1 or 2 days a week. And then they made it so we could do up to 2 days a week. And then the COVID hit. But I can still do 2 or 3 days a week officially, right? But then I have a flexibility. I can kind of go to the office as needed, right? So I'll don't do it on certain days, do it on certain days. So I have a total flexibility with that. The one I thought, and so I'm kind of going through your points here and looking at, it doesn't, the whole thing of saying, well, it's not good because you're losing money going to the office and all this stuff and having leasing and stuff. Well, it's their money, right? And the real estate questions, I think, but there are other things like the tax, there's all mentioned here. So, but I thought the interesting one and something that I really think was a key is that no one told you to move during COVID, right? Your return to office was always a possibility. And I've been saying this for years. I've been saying that wait until it's time to come back to the office. And the people that moved away are stuck because then they got to pay for their trip, right? They got to pay for the trip, which a lot of people in our office, the office I work, but the office where I'm physically attached to, administratively too, is the people living in southern France and southwestern France, and now they're kind of stuck because they can't come to things, right? So this whole change of coming back to the office 3 days a week at a location is a kind of a there was a big thing about it in the news and stuff for the overall global company, and it did kind of raise some raise some concerns. This, yeah, I mean, I'm used to doing the whole commuting thing distance. I'm about, let's see, kilometer wise, I'm 100 kilometers from the office physically. And right now, during the Olympic Games, which in Paris, we're told us not to come to the office because you're getting through all that traffic and other stuff. But it takes a while. It takes me an hour and a half to get from door to door. So I kind of plan around that, right? And do things. And I usually, like when I go to office, I want to make sure that I use a full day or something. I'm not going to go for half a day. I'm not going to travel for more than I actually sit in the office. So there are a lot of things that are involved. I really agree with you that there's a lot in this, and you have to try to get the empathy of your managers and all that kind of stuff. And mine has been kind of set because I live so far away. That really is, but that's because I probably live one of the farthest away. That's not in the contract to actually work at a specific, alternating weeks and all stuff. But I've been one of the people that lives the farthest away, so it's kind of understood. But people that live in town, in Paris in general, or within a distance that's closer, that don't live so far away, that's a little more complicated. And to explain that and say they want to. Now the problem with I'll say one big problem here is I'm thinking about this, and I didn't think about the points, specific extra points, but one of the things that happened with this 4-year period was that people got used to working from home, got used to turning everything around the family, right? Now they're saying, well, my family needs me and my family. Well, yeah, but you were doing it before without it. Now the company says you have to, they change everything so they're more available. And I know some of my colleagues who are moms, that their kids say, well, Mom, you're not working. Well, she is working. She's just working from home, but they don't see it. So because she's been going to the swimming activities and stuff, and now that's hard because their lives, the women that do a lot of things, the kids, they are used to now being more with their kids and being have flexible schedule. And this changes things for the children, right? The children, this is the harder thing, is how do you help the kids perceive that you're actually working, right? And that they don't think that you're just available all the time as like a home mom or home dad or whatever, right? That I think is the harder thing. My kids are, growing up. They're old, late teenagers, so there's no big deal. They're used to going to take the train and do things when they need to go do things. Have a car, so it's a different thing. But I think the children that grew up during this period are have a hard time understanding the difference in what it means to be working from home, or what does that mean and all that. I think that's going to be the challenge for these parents. So thanks for making the post. And I think this whole 4-day week work thing and all these things, and working more from home and all this, we'll see where that goes. But we'll see if it actually does work for small businesses. I think it works in some fields, but not all. In bigger companies, big organizations, NGOs, governments, and big companies and multinational corporations, people have to come back, and that's the way it is, right? Because that's always before, and you have to fill it. You find another job. So.